for this leader to get the culture of the artificial intelligence. Today, for a leader, it's very difficult to deal with such crucial issue without understanding what's about. And one of the main things that we have to do, and we got a discussion together, how to help the leadership to understand this. We don't need them to be experts in artificial intelligence. But if you want to decide for something, and if you need, and you are expected to have a vision on the future, artificial intelligence is a part of the future, is a part of the policies, is the part of your decision, is the part of what you will manage socially, economically, financially, security, all of that you will have this. And is to be sure that we are doing the right job to make this leader aware and with a minimum knowledge and culture of that.
Welcome to the Regulating AI podcast with Sanjay Puri. AI is changing the world faster than rules can keep up. So how do we protect people without killing progress? Each week, Sanjay brings you inside conversations with global leaders, policymakers, and innovators who are wrestling with that exact question. So if you're curious about the future of technology and how it's governed, you're in the right place. On today's episode, we have His Excellency Mehdi Jomaa, the former Prime Minister of Tunisia, who led the country during a critical period of democratic transition following the Arab Spring. An engineer by training and former aerospace industry executive, he stepped into public service to guide Tunisia towards stability and its first democratic elections under the new constitution. Today, he is a global voice on governance, economic reform, and the responsible development of emerging technologies, including AI. We welcome him onto our Regulating AI Advisory Board.
Welcome, Prime Minister, to the Regulating AI podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us, Prime Minister.
It's a real pleasure to meet you. It's not the first time, and I'm happy really to join this organization, and on such critical and important thing for the future, for our future and the future of the next generation. So again, I'm happy, and I hope that I will bring even a small contribution, but it's mandatory to focus on that, and I'm really glad to be with you and to contribute to your initiative.
Thanks so much. Prime Minister, we have a global audience. These are policy leaders around the world. You have recently just come on the Regulating AI Advisory Board. And in your, coming in, you had mentioned that you want to be the voice for Africa and the global South. What was it that you look to achieve in this kind of a platform for our audience?
First, to be the voice of the global South, and particularly Africa and my country, Tunisia, of course, because I do believe that Tunisia has many ingredients to be a candidate and contributor to this big trend. I think it's important today what is happening in the world beyond the artificial intelligence regulation is the question of the global governance. And we see all these frictions, let's say, and we can say sometimes conflicts around that because we are in a situation where the governance is no more suitable or compliant with realities. Political, geopolitical realities, but as well this technology evolution. So with my experience, I would like to be a contributor like I am a contributor with in many other spheres, in democracy spheres, in geopolitical spheres, to be active and to contribute to bring this voice of the Global South, which is today a part of this reality, and it will occupy maybe a larger part of the future.
So, Prime Minister, you had a very illustrious career in engineering. You worked on rockets, as I said in your introduction. You worked on so many engineering problems. When you look as an engineer to this issue of AI governance, AI policy, using your analytical mind. What are your thoughts as to what it should be? Because AI has become a big part of national security. It's become part of economic security because people are worried about jobs, etc. Tell our audience what, as an engineer, what do you bring towards this thought process?
I think some parallel to establish between the field where I come from. I spent a large part of my career in the industry, particularly aerospace and defense industry, where it's pushed and driven by innovation and technology. But in the meantime, if you take the example of aerospace, it was mandatory to have a regulation frame. So you have to push, you have to progress through innovation, but don't forget that you have a frame because there is many issues that we have to take into account: security, the safety, and I would like to see the same approach in artificial intelligence field. There is this, let's say, dialogue or battle sometimes between regulation and innovation. I think it's a good field of inspiration, the aerospace or the other proven field of technology, how to handle and to balance between both of them. So it's an approach. What I learned through that is always to have this direction of progress, but an approach how to prove things, how to take a process of to detect the risks and to mitigate these risks. And this process could be through tests, through return on experience, and through audits, and this ability to adapt, to correct, and to improve each time.
So to improve each time, now, as you said, aerospace is also an area of a lot of innovation, but has regulations for safety and other reasons. Like within aerospace, if you take the US, we have the Federal Aviation Administration. We have rules and regulations as far as other countries have that. And there are international standards that bound us. Do you believe that there is a need for an international body to kind of administer these things for artificial intelligence, like you see in, let's say, in aerospace or in nuclear energy, you have IAEA, etc. What is your perspective towards that?
Yeah, I think it should be. It's a crucial point that you are asking me to answer today. We need really a global governance of it, and artificial intelligence is a global phenomena. When you develop in any state in the United States, let's say OpenAI, it's used everywhere in the world. So it's a concern. It could be today what we see. It's a quick development of this technology. On the meantime, in parallel, we are trying to regulate. And if you see, when we see the landscape today of regulation for artificial intelligence, we see Europe, it's in advance, which is a good step on my sense. In the United States, you have now establishing some regulation for that. All of this should converge because all the tools that we will develop, all this logic, all this process of artificial intelligence will be global. And it's a part as well of the competition that we see today, a global competition. It's a part of the political or the power share in the world. So it could not be isolated. It could not be regional or a concern of one country. It's a global concern, and we have to converge through a global regulation, maybe not strict one, but at least how to share the vision for the future, to share the rules that we have to respect, to take into account some consideration. It should not be let on the hand of these big companies as well, which is good that they took the initiative to develop things. But after, it's a question of countries, of states, of citizens everywhere in the world. So my approach, okay, let's make an effort in each area of the world, but it should be a part of the global governance, and we should put a governance for artificial intelligence at minima to ensure that we are in the frame of the respect of the human rights, of the respect of the interests of everything, and that we are developing something for the progress of the humanity, for our progress, for our well-being, and not something that could be used against each other.
So, as you said, to use it together, not use it against each other. The EU, as you mentioned, Prime Minister, has this EU AI Act. They're the first region to have put this regulation in there. And, they had this passed. But there has been a lot of criticism within Europe as well as obviously outside Europe that they've gone too far in terms of, and they're pushing some of their innovators out, their companies are moving out, etc. Where is that balance? Because the argument I hear from entrepreneurs who come on my podcast or some policy leaders from the United States, it's this whole dichotomy of innovation versus regulation. You've dealt with this in your career all your life, whether it was in telecom, whether it's in aerospace, etc. How is that balance to be done, moldboard, where the AI bots have started talking to each other and building communities? It started from 1,000, they're up to several thousands, and they're communicating with each other. So we are reaching lot of different thresholds are being reached. So where is this, again, for our listeners, leaders of countries who are struggling with this, Prime Minister?
Yeah, I think, each time we are facing new things and we cannot have a clear or an accurate forecast of the future, we are cautious and we try to make the regulation severe. I think that's the approach. Each time with the progress, we have to review. The main thing that we have to do with this fast evolution of this technology, because even though I was speaking about aerospace, it was not the same rate of evolution. Today, it's crazy. It's a high-speed evolution. So we should keep the flexibility to adapt everything. I think it's cautious to have regulation. We cannot close all the doors, but we cannot take a large risk. And that's what I said, how to manage the risk, how to anticipate in the evaluation of the risk, and how to mitigate it with a flexible, iterative process.
So the question I think you raised is this technology is moving very, very fast. I mean, it's almost weekly, daily, massive change that is happening. You being an engineer, you were also a political leader. How do you think policy leaders can deal with this kind of a massive change? Aerospace still was, telecommunications, 4G, 5G, takes years, decades sometimes. But how do they keep up with that? What is your message? Because the worry that a lot of people have is it's like social media. We let it come and then now it's too late. It's everywhere. We want to protect our teens and stuff like that, but that horse has left the barn a long time ago.
Last week I was in a meeting in Geneva with the United Nations with the head of states and governments and many responsible. And there was an open discussion about that. I think the first thing now is for this leader to get the culture of the artificial intelligence. Today, for a leader, it's very difficult to deal with such crucial issue without understanding what's about. And one of the main things that we have to do, and we got a discussion together, how to help the leadership to understand this. We don't need them to be experts in artificial intelligence. But if you want to decide for something, and if you need, and you are expected to have a vision on the future, artificial intelligence is a part of the future, is a part of the policies, is the part of your decision, is the part of what you will manage socially, economically, financially, security, all of that you will have this. And the first step is to be sure that we are doing the right job to make this leader aware and with a minimum knowledge and culture of that. then they are used to manage unexpected and expectable events. And I think if they integrate that, they are able to anticipate, even though this growing well. And the second thing is to be close to the developer, to the researcher, and to understand and to listen to them. You cannot take such a decision by your own. It's complex, it's fast, so it's another way to handle this by getting some culture, focusing on that, and include on the table of the decision the people who can bring a wise view and bring expert. It's not enough to be regulator. You cannot decide by your own. And with this rhythm of the evolution, you have to be really close, including in your way to do things, including these people and even the companies. Today, one of the major problems that we have to handle with regard to the artificial intelligence, it's led by big companies, which are not political. They are in another logic. They have a company, they want to develop, they want to have some income, which is very good. It helps to accelerate the innovation and the progress. But at the end, we have citizens, we have countries, we have the safety of the country, we have many other concerns that we have to take into account. How now to include both parties, more than both parties, more than two stakeholders. These companies, these big companies, the governments, the states, but as well the researchers, the citizens, civil society. It's a complex thing, but if we handle it and we organize ourselves, we can really manage it. Again, I will give you the example of the aerospace. Aerospace, the competitivity, you are competitive if you are innovative, but you cannot take the risk to fly with a plane which is not safe. So we push for innovation, but we regulate to be sure. And even for this industry and even for the artificial intelligence, taking the time to focus on the risks and to regulate and to be that we are in a safe boundary, it's good for the artificial intelligence because any accident will have a negative impact.
The US-China, dichotomy or this thing that is happening, and the question becomes is who is going to be head technology from an AI standpoint, because the country or the thought process that is ahead in technology is going to drive a lot of things.
First remark, I don't think that in China they don't have regulation. They have regulation. And second, I agree with you that today artificial intelligence is maybe one of the major field of competition between China and the United States. And we know today that's really this artificial intelligence progress is led by both. Everywhere there is progress and there is movement, there is investment, and people are working to get their parts. And like any competition, we have to establish some rules. Otherwise, it could be conflictual. And we are at the point that we have to realize today that a dialogue has to be established between both. It's evident. I got the opportunity with some of my colleagues to meet the President Xi Jinping in 2019. And he was explaining to us his vision for the future and for China. We were surprised that at that time no one was speaking about artificial intelligence. He put it at the second axle of the progress and of the strategy and the vision for the future. And he said at that time that we launched already at that time more than 400 specialty in the universities in China. So it's evident that the competition today between these different powers looking to get the leadership is around that. And I will say maybe not mainly, but one of the main axes of the battle. And it's time to realize that we have to fix some rules.
We'll fight. So, going back to the time when you were brought in as a prime minister, you brought a lot of different groups together during that time, which was a very unique time in the history of Tunisia and the region around the world. People with probably different ideologies, you were able to bring them together. Are there some lessons from that you think that we can, when we look at the EU, we look at US, and you look at China, three major players in this world of AI, and all trying to kind of position themselves. US wants to be the innovator, EU is considered the regulator, and China, we don't know. Are there some lessons from during that time, how you were able to bring different people together?
You are speaking about my experience in Tunisia with the government as a head of government. Yeah, I arrived at that period. There is a very, very difficult crisis, very hard crisis, which was mainly political crisis, but we were under the pressure of security issues with all what was happening in the area. But when I arrived with an experience on managing crisis, because through my career, so I started like engineer and with technical, but after it was management and crisis management. And I learned through all this experience from the corporate, from the business, but also from the experience in the government, that the first thing is to rebuild trust. And the second thing, you cannot build trust if you don't make people agreeing about some rules. And that's what we can expect now from these powers. It's to trust, to rebuild trust between themselves, to stay around the table and to find a way how to preserve the interest of each party, but with clear rules of competition. Otherwise, it's clear. At any scale or at any problem, at any crisis, we have to take into account the interest of each stakeholder, of each part, but through the trust. Otherwise, there is, it's easy. If you don't go through that to find the rules, to manage the interest and to see what is the common value, the common rules that you can adopt and to respect, otherwise it's fighting. And what I wish that in this, the whole change that we are living today in the global governance, that we don't go through. We have many. The history is here. Each big change in the share of power through the world or regionally, if we don't manage it in a wise way with dialogue, we have wars. And what I hope that we have enough return on experience and learned from the history to avoid that.
Talking about Tunisia, and you said, you want to be the voice for Africa and the global South. If you look at AI today, it's trained primarily on the internet, which is 70% Western English-oriented languages. And then the other part is that Africa has maybe 1% of the total data centers in the world, about 18% of the population. How do you think those things can change, and how do we keep the languages, the culture, the history of Africa, the global South? Because as you said, those are important things. So any advice, any suggestions on that front, Prime Minister?
Again, we are speaking about artificial intelligence, but it's true if you see the financial, if you go to the financial, the economy, the part of the GDP in the world, when you compare the population that we have in Africa, the potential we have, and the reality today, I think it's a global, and you cannot impose or be contributor or take your large place or suitable place if you don't have the other powers. And the challenge today in Africa is that we know that in the future, Africa will be a part of the future. And that's why I'm really active to advocate the position of Africa in the global south, but globally in the global space. I think it's possible. I think it's possible, and I'm optimistic on that because I'm traveling through Africa today, and I see this new generation. We have well-skilled generation, aware of what is happening, a part of this global movement, dynamic happening. They are eager to be on the network, on digital, artificial intelligence, but as well to be a part of this industrial network, this knowledge. So we are starting, and globally, even seen from Europe or from United States or China or outside of Africa, we know that the potential of growth is there. So things will happen. But in the meantime, it's the job of we Africans to bring our voice. And the first thing to do, we are speaking about artificial intelligence. We know there is part of the soft development, but there is the question of the big data and all the infrastructure that we need to set up. And today we are speaking about big investments. The only way is really how to federate in Africa. It could be locally, but it's not an issue of separate countries. It's the only way to progress and to get the rhythm, to be a part of this, to have a voice, to be a part of the decision, to be part of this growth and development, is to associate our effort regionally, but as well at the level of the continent. And even for the regulation, if we want to bring a voice, it could be through some organization like African Union. That's why, and through the discussion we have now in Africa, we are aware that we have to form many infrastructure and many projects where we need a big investment. We have to have common vision and common investment on that. And artificial intelligence, it's a part of that, and it's really crucial. And we have to do it now. We are a little bit late. And we have to be considerate as well by the others, even though we don't have the same level of power today, because we are a part of the market, but we are a part of the humanity. And the artificial intelligence is not isolated from the other consideration, like the immigration, security, safety everywhere. So, but the first responsibility, it's our responsibility, Africans.
So the responsibility is for Africa. Would you advocate sovereign AI for each country, that they set up their own AI systems, large language models, which take a lot of money and resources? Or should they combine their efforts, as you were advocating, as group or a cluster to save on money? Because the big countries like Nigeria and Kenya and others, probably South Africa, can probably do that, but then you have so many others. So what is the best path, and is there a discussion on this going on?
I think that the idea of making clusters and to federate their effort, financial, and to create infrastructure, it's mandatory. I think there is on the continent more than 50 countries. We cannot develop, don't have. And you see, even in other spaces like Europe, it's which is stronger, have technology, have more means. So it's the federation and the clusters. That's the only thing. Like any infrastructure, if you want to develop the logistics, you cannot do it in an isolated country. You have to connect it. The artificial intelligence should be like that. But in the meantime, each country and each area and each region has its own specificities, and we have the flexibility and the way artificial intelligence is constructed today through this learning could open the doors and the windows for any specificity. But the infrastructure and maybe the infrastructure, the vision and the place that we want to get, and the voice we want to have should go through the federation or the consolidation or what you call the clusters.
In terms of governance, Prime Minister, should they follow the EU model of, risk-based, heavy governance? Should they follow the U.S., which is allow innovation to flourish, or is there a separate Africa model? What is your advice for leaders from Africa who are listening? And
First, what I would like to see is not US, African, Brazilian, Indian standard. We should have a common regulation, at least a global regulation, but after we have to take into account many specificity. You cannot, like in industry or any field, you cannot put the same restrictions on a beginner, on a starter, or on development, or going on development, the same that already developed and strong. And I need more flexibility. But for all the question of safety, security, we have to be linked, all of us, with strict regulation. It could be coming from Europe, proposal of Europe, of United States, of China, and the safety, the security of people, of the systems, the regulation, the ethic as well, frame that we have to respect, and to agree, all of us, of the aim of that. The aim is not only financial, that's the view of the company, and that's acceptable. That's their task and their motivation. But when we are at we have the responsibility of the regulation of the political leadership. We have to take into account all these concerns.
so, Prime Minister, we are living in a little bit of a fragmented world as we speak right now. Right now, AI, to a large extent, like social media, especially AI, is in many ways dominated by a few companies. For Africa, for Global South, is there a risk that the dependency on such a crucial technology, this is beyond social media, that social media, okay, I've got old friends that I can connect with, etc. This is healthcare, this is education, manufacturing, you name it, it's everything in there. What are are there concerns? And then if there are there any solutions towards this?
The concern is, yes, solution, we have to find them. Concern is because, you are giving your data. When you use any software, any tool, digital tool, artificial, you are supplying your data, so you are no more having the control on your data. And that's one of the first issue. That's why it's mandatory to start by building our data center and to put some rules what we allow, what we don't allow, because otherwise you lose a lot of things. That's the first issue and the main issue. Otherwise, it's not difficult. We are not developer of that. We are not investor in that. We are not mastering that. But it's a crucial problem, and it's a part, not only in Africa. There is another problem that we have to see and to treat and to find solution for it, even in the developed country, United States or everywhere. How to balance now the power between these companies and the political level of political leadership. So today, the real problem that we are facing, and a part of the answer to all the questions that we are debating today, are how and we can imagine and which kind of governance, global governance, we should have for all of us. It's not only technological, it's a part technology, but the issue is everything is now no more functioning or no more performant. If you take the UN, it's no more acting. It's not due to the A, it's due to the contributors to the A who decided, some of them, they decided that they should have more power or more ability or more space to decide for the others. It's the trade organization is no more functioning. The World Bank, the IMF, all these institutions, we have to review the global governance, and it's a part, and we are pushed by the reality on the ground, but as well the pressure of the evolution of the technology, which accelerating this discrepancy and adding more parameters to this complex equation to solve.
Finally, Prime Minister, tell our listeners just briefly about the AI ecosystem in Tunisia. They have a very talented young workforce, but it's an opportunity for global listeners who might not be aware, a lot of them are not. What is the ecosystem in Tunisia for technology?
I think in Tunisia, we have some advantage, and that's why we should be confident, we should trust in our future, but not comfortable, because we have to accelerate more. Always we had to choose in Tunisia to invest in advanced technology education. So the system could be performed, and we have to adapt and to make it progressing. And if you see the history, we cut a part of the industry, but industry was hardest to cut because it needs heavy equipments, large investments, and at the digital phase of the evolution of global economy, we took this opportunity because it needs brains. And we prepared with this 2 or 3 generation with the education to take advantage of the progress. And today, really, we are very optimistic in Tunisia. And I do believe, even though the problems that we have, which with regard to the transition, which is normal, I do believe that what is happening in the world, this evolution, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, it's an opportunity for Tunisia. And I remember I met Eric Smith, the boss of Google, and I got a discussion, and they convinced him that the right place to be, really the right place to be, is Tunisia. And we are able to adapt our programs, university programs, school programs, to prepare the right profiles to be on the head of this competition. So I'm optimistic for Tunisia, and I'm still optimistic, but for our region. But we need to double the efforts. We need there is some distance that we have to run again, with some effort, a clear vision, and open our minds to what is happening in the world. We can do that. And for the continent, we have to federate our efforts to go through the instances, regional instances or institutions that we have, and the African institution, to make our voice. And why I am optimistic, but because we have one of the biggest markets for the future, biggest evolution of democracy. And I always, in any analysis of the strength and the weakness of any country, when there is a big gap with the first in the class, that means that there is a big potential of progress. And that's the source of my optimism.
So the only way to go is up?
Up, yes. We don't have any choice. And we have all the ingredients to serve a very nice dish.
Whether you go to a G7, G20, or any discussion that happens, or you go to any economic summit, AI is one of the key underpinnings. And with this technology, we want to make sure innovation flourishes, but we do it in a responsible way. And you kind of have laid out a roadmap, and your, I think, vision for what happens for Global South, for Africa, I think is going to help, because this technology otherwise will never succeed the way it is if the rest of the world is not brought along with us. Thank you again, Prime Minister, for your time, and our audience, I'm sure, is going to love listening to you. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Sanjay, and happy again to be a part of the board of such brilliant and prestigious foundation.
Thanks for tuning in to the Regulating AI podcast with Sanjay Puri. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought. Share it with someone curious about the future of AI, and join us next time for more stories and insights from the leaders shaping what's ahead. Right here on the Regulating AI podcast.